Jaren Kor stared at the endless field of broken ships floating in the scrapyard. The cold metal glinted under the distant light of the dying star above the asteroid belt. Once, he had been a celebrated pilot, known across human space for his daring maneuvers and unmatched skill. But that was a lifetime ago. Now his reputation lay in ruins, destroyed by a scandal that had painted him as a traitor, a cheat, and a danger to everyone around him. He adjusted the worn jacket over his shoulders, feeling the weight of his mistakes. He had no allies, no friends, and barely enough credits to buy even a small life support module. Every scavenger in this part of the belt whispered his name with disgust. Everyone had moved on, but Jaren hadn't given up. Not yet. His eyes scanned the rows of scrapped vessels. Human freighters stripped of engines, old military shuttles hollowed out like shells, and alien ships of strange designs that humans were still trying to understand. Most of them were worthless, but he was searching for one thing, a gamble, a chance to turn everything around. That's when he saw it. A sleek alien vessel floated quietly near the far edge of the scrapyard. Its surface was smooth, reflective, and almost organic in appearance. Unlike the human ships around it, this one seemed alive, even in its abandoned state. The metal looked almost soft, curving naturally rather than built with angles and panels. It hummed faintly, though no one else was near. Jaren's heart skipped a beat. He had seen alien ships before, but they were rare, expensive, and usually heavily guarded. This one had a faded tag, scrapped to be destroyed. He felt a thrill he hadn't felt in years. The asteroid bay was quiet. A crescent-shaped hollow in the rock provided shelter from patrolling ships and prying eyes. Jaren Kor had chosen it carefully, far enough from major routes that no one would find him easily. Yet even in the silence, he couldn't shake the weight of the unknown. Lyra, the alien ship, sat in front of him, humming softly as if sensing his tension. "You should relax," Lyra said. Its voice flowed through the cockpit speakers like water over stones. "Your nervous energy is inefficient." "I can't relax," Jaren muttered, rubbing his eyes. "Every move I make could be my last out here. You survived the scavengers. That is evidence that your instincts are sharp." Jaren let out a bitter laugh. "Sharp, huh? Or just lucky?" Lyra remained silent for a moment. Then it said, "Luck is the alignment of chance and preparation. You had both. Now preparation must follow instinct." Jaren frowned. "Talk like that all you want, but I still don't know how to use you. None of your systems make sense." "You will learn," Lyra replied. "I will teach you." For the next few hours, Jaren tried to access the ship's core systems. Nothing responded the way human technology did. Buttons, screens, and panels moved or shifted when he touched them, as if the ship had a mind of its own. It was frustrating, almost maddening. "Stop forcing it," Lyra said suddenly. "You approach this like a human machine. I am not a machine." Jaren threw his hands up. "Then what am I supposed to do? Talk to it? Sing it a lullaby?" "Perhaps." Lyra's voice had a hint of amusement. "Or perhaps you will listen. Observation is often more valuable than action." Jaren sighed and leaned back in the cockpit chair. He watched the alien interface glow softly, the symbols shifting and changing with a rhythm he didn't understand. Hours passed. Then, without thinking, he reached out, letting his fingers hover over the panels instead of pressing them. Slowly, the controls began to respond, not to his force but to his intent. "You see," Lyra said. "Your mind is capable of adaptation, but only when you do not attempt to dominate me." I'm listening," Jaren admitted. "But this is crazy. Ships don't talk, ships don't judge, ships don't think." "I am not a human ship," Lyra replied calmly. "I am aware, I am alive. And you may have potential." For the next several days, Jaren and Lyra fell into a strange rhythm. He learned to anticipate the ship's responses, while Lyra adjusted to his instincts. It was a slow process, but progress came with every small success. Jaren discovered that Lyra's interface was not just a control system. It could display three-dimensional holographic simulations of star systems, predict gravitational anomalies, and even calculate trajectories with almost uncanny speed. The ship seemed to think in layers, analyzing multiple possibilities at once. One evening, while resting in the cockpit, Jaren asked the question that had been bothering him since the day he bought Lyra. "Why me?" he asked quietly. "Why did you wait for me? Why not someone else?" Lyra's response came slowly. "I waited for one capable of resilience, adaptability, and curiosity. Most humans would have fled. You did not. That is noteworthy." "Curiosity," Jaren repeated. "I was just desperate. Desperate people aren't exactly ideal pilots." "Desperation is often the catalyst for growth," Lyra said. "It forces the mind to seek solutions outside its normal parameters. You may survive where others fail." Jaren leaned back and stared at the stars outside the bay. He wanted to believe her, but years of failure made trust difficult. Yet, for the first time in a long time, he felt hopeful. Over the following days, they practiced together. Jaren learned to navigate using Lyra's advanced systems, and the ship began teaching him subtle maneuvers that no human training manual could provide. They simulated ambushes, asteroid field navigation, and high-speed evasions. Every time Jaren made a mistake, Lyra corrected him, but without anger, without ridicule. Instead, she explained, guided, and challenged him to think differently. "You are too linear," Lyra said one afternoon. "Human thought follows predictable patterns. You must consider possibilities outside your instinct." "Like what?" Jaren asked. Lyra projected a simulation of an asteroid belt with multiple enemy ships approaching. "Predict their paths not as straight lines but as waves. Consider timing, energy flow, and reactions. The solution is not force, it is balance." Jaren's mind struggled, but slowly he began to see the patterns. It was a different way of thinking, one that required patience, creativity, and trust. For the first time, he felt his mind expanding in ways he hadn't thought possible. But the galaxy was not idle. While Jaren learned, human authorities had discovered the stolen alien vessel. Bounties were placed, and reports of a rogue ex-human pilot with an alien ship spread across human space. One night while Jaren rested, Lyra's sensors alerted him to incoming signals. Human patrol ships were approaching, scanning for life signs and technology. Jaren jumped to the controls, heart racing. "Do you know what to do?" Lyra asked. "I think so," Jaren said, gripping the controls, "but I might be over my head." "You are not alone," Lyra said softly. "Remember, trust is your weapon as much as your skill." Together, they executed an intricate maneuver. Lyra predicted the patrol ship's paths, guiding Jaren through a dense asteroid field. He twisted and turned, dodging lasers and debris. Every instinct he had learned from years of human piloting was now combined with Lyra's alien intuition. The dance of survival was tense, exhausting, and exhilarating. After nearly an hour, they broke through the patrol's perimeter. Jaren exhaled sharply, his hands shaking. That was insane." "You survived," Lyra said simply. "And you are learning, remember this feeling. Fear is a tool, not a weakness." Jaren nodded, leaning back in the seat. For the first time, he realized something important. He didn't need to rely solely on human skill anymore. He had a partner, an ally, and a mind that could match his own. Together, they were stronger than either alone. Over the next few weeks, their bond deepened. Lyra shared fragments of her past, a long-lost alien civilization, missions to explore uncharted systems, a fleet abandoned during an interstellar war. Jaren listened, fascinated. He began to understand that Lyra was more than a ship. She was a teacher, a guide, and a friend. And yet a part of him remained wary. Trusting a sentient alien ship was dangerous. But slowly he realized that the galaxy would test him, and he needed allies, human or otherwise. Lyra had chosen him. Now he had to rise to the occasion. One evening, while observing a distant nebula, Jaren whispered, "Do you think humans can really change?" Lyra responded without hesitation. "Humans are flawed, but they endure. They adapt." they create. You have the potential to be more than your past mistakes. That is what I see in you. Jaren stared at the swirling colors of the nebula, feeling a warmth he hadn't felt in years. For the first time since his disgrace, he believed in himself. He wasn't just an exiled pilot anymore. He was a student, a partner, and perhaps, in time, a leader. The patrol ships would come again. The galaxy was dangerous, but Jaren no longer faced it alone. And with Lyra at his side, he felt ready to meet whatever challenges awaited. The asteroid bay was quiet, but Jaren Kor's heart pounded with anticipation. Today was the day. After weeks of learning, observing, and practicing with Lyra, he would finally take the alien ship beyond the safety of the hidden bay. Beyond the familiar rocks, beyond the edge of human-controlled space, lay the unknown. Lyra's voice echoed softly through the cockpit. "Are you ready?" Jaren tightened his grip on the controls. "Ready as I'll ever be." The engines hummed to life, not with the mechanical roar of human ships, but with a soft, resonant vibration that seemed almost alive. Panels lit up around him, responding to his thoughts rather than his hands. Lyra was more than a ship, she was a partner, anticipating his needs even before he could articulate them. "Relax your muscles," Lyra advised. "Trust the interface. Do not fight me." Jaren exhaled and allowed the ship to lift from the asteroid's shadow. Slowly at first, then with increasing confidence, he guided Lyra into open space. The stars stretched infinitely around them, glittering against the dark canvas of the galaxy. Jaren felt a thrill he hadn't experienced in years, a mixture of fear, freedom, and pure exhilaration. "This is amazing," he whispered. "It is not the scenery that matters," Lyra said. "It is your ability to navigate it, observe, anticipate, adapt." The first hour passed with Jaren learning to integrate his instincts with Lyra's alien systems. The ship responded to his thoughts, suggesting maneuvers he could not have imagined, guiding him through asteroid clusters with fluid precision. It was unlike any flight he had ever experienced. "Lyra," he said cautiously, "how fast can we really go?" "Faster than any human vessel designed for combat," Lyra replied. "But speed without control is useless. Focus on coordination." Jaren nodded. He tested the ship's limits, pushing the engines, diving through tight gaps in asteroid fields, and banking sharply at impossible angles. Lyra corrected him subtly, smoothing his trajectories, saving him from collisions that would have shredded any human ship. He began to understand that flying with Lyra was not just about skill, it was about partnership, about thinking together. Hours into the flight, he noticed an anomaly on the scanners. A group of human patrol ships was converging on their location. They must have tracked him from the scrapyard or intercepted signals from Lyra's systems. Jaren's pulse quickened. For the first time, he would test everything he had learned against real enemies. "Lyra," he said, "we've got company." "They are fast but predictable," Lyra replied. "We can evade them, but this is your first real test. Trust yourself." Jaren tightened his grip and activated evasive protocols. Lyra projected a holographic map of the approaching ships, showing their likely trajectories and blind spots. Jaren adjusted their path accordingly, weaving through asteroid fields and using gravitational pulls to accelerate unexpectedly. The patrol ships opened fire. Laser bolts cut through space, narrowly missing Lyra's hull. Jaren felt a thrill mixed with fear. He had dodged enemy fire before, but never with a partner that thought faster than any human could. "Focus on rhythm, not reaction," Lyra advised. "Predict patterns, anticipate gaps." Jaren did. He began moving not by instinct alone, but by calculation, by trust in Lyra's guidance. They slipped through a narrow gap in a cluster of asteroids, shaking off the patrols. One by one, the enemy ships lost sight of them. Jaren's heart raced, but a smile crept across his face. "We did it," he said, almost in disbelief. "Yes," Lyra replied. "And yet this is only the beginning. You have learned the basics, but the galaxy holds far greater dangers than mere patrol ships. Jaren's smile faded as he considered her words. What kind of dangers? Lyra's response was calm but serious. Species older, more advanced, and far more dangerous than humans have ever encountered. They may not welcome your presence, and they certainly will not forgive trespassers. Jaren swallowed hard. For the first time, he realized that their flight was not just a test. It was an initiation into a much larger and far more complex universe. Hours turned into days as they explored nearby star systems. Lyra's knowledge of alien technology, navigation, and strategy astounded him. She taught him how to read energy flows, detect hidden gravitational anomalies, and anticipate environmental hazards. Jaren learned to think in ways he never had before, holistic, multi-layered, and adaptive. "You are improving," Lyra said one evening as they drifted near a gas giant. "Your human limitations are real, but they are not insurmountable. You are learning to combine instinct with reason." "And you're learning about me too," Jaren said quietly. "Yes," Lyra admitted. "Humans are unpredictable, but in unpredictability lies creativity and courage. I am learning that you may be more capable than even I expected." Jaren felt a warmth in his chest. For the first time in years, he felt valued not for what he could do alone, but for what they could do together. The alien ship had become more than a tool. It was a partner, a mentor, and strangely, a friend. Their peace did not last long. A sudden alert interrupted the quiet hum of Lyra's systems. Another group of ships appeared on the scanners, faster, more numerous, and more aggressive than the human patrols. Jaren's stomach twisted. These were not ordinary adversaries. Their technology was unfamiliar, and their formation suggested military precision. "They are advanced," Lyra said. "We must evade or outmaneuver them. Direct confrontation will not succeed." Jaren nodded, focusing intently. Together, they weaved through an uncharted asteroid belt, using Lyra's predictive systems to anticipate enemy movements. Lasers sliced past them, and explosions echoed faintly through the void. "Use the environment," Lyra instructed. "The asteroids are your allies. Predict their trajectory, and you can turn danger into cover." Jaren followed her guidance, twisting and diving through the rocks with a precision that surprised even him. The pursuing ship struggled to keep up, colliding with asteroids or firing blindly as Lyra projected illusions and false energy signatures. Hours passed and finally they emerged from the asteroid field, battered but unscathed. Jaren exhaled deeply, his hands shaking. That was insane," he said. "Yes," Lyra replied. "But you succeeded. This is proof of your growth. You are learning not just to survive, but to adapt, to think beyond your limits." Jaren looked out at the stars, feeling a sense of exhilaration and fear. The galaxy was vast, full of wonders and threats he could scarcely imagine. Yet, for the first time, he felt ready to face it. Not alone, but with Lyra. As they drifted near a distant nebula, Lyra spoke again. "Your progress is remarkable, but the next step is far more difficult. You must learn to anticipate threats before they exist. Strategy, foresight, and trust will determine your survival." "I'm ready," Jaren said, gripping the controls. "I want to know everything you can teach me." Lyra hummed approvingly. "Very well, but remember, human, knowledge without courage is useless and skill without trust is wasted. You have both if you choose to embrace them." Jaren stared at the swirling colors of the nebula, feeling a mixture of fear and excitement. The flight had shown him the galaxy's dangers and its possibilities. He was no longer the broken, despised pilot who had wandered the scrapyard. He was a student, a partner, and a pilot learning to command a vessel unlike any human had ever known. And as he sat in the cockpit, Lyra's soft hum vibrating through the ship, he realized something important. This was not just a flight. It was the beginning of a journey that would test every skill, every instinct, and every ounce of courage he possessed. Somewhere in the vast darkness, dangers waited, but Jaren Kor was ready, not just as a human, not just as a pilot, but as a force to be reckoned with Lyra, the sentient alien ship, at his side. The nebula stretched endlessly before them, a swirl of colors and gases that hid both wonder and danger. Jaren Kor adjusted the controls, eyes flicking between Lyra's glowing interface and the star-streaked horizon. Weeks of training, flights, and learning had led to this moment. An alien force, more advanced and organized than anything he had faced, had tracked them to this uncharted region. There would be no hiding this time. Lyra's voice cut through the tense silence. They are near. Their sensors are sophisticated and they will strike swiftly. We must prepare. Jaren nodded, his hands steady on the controls. I'm ready. Whatever comes, we face it together. You understand, Lyra said softly, that survival alone is not enough. This encounter will test your skill, judgment, and trust. You must act as one with me. Jaren exhaled, feeling the weight of her words. He had learned much from Lyra, how to think beyond human limitations, how to anticipate threats, how to use courage and strategy as weapons. But nothing could fully prepare him for facing an alien fleet with unknown intentions. They moved closer to the nebula, using its swirling gases as cover. Lyra guided them through dense clouds of ionized particles where human sensors would falter. She projected a holographic map of the approaching alien vessels, showing multiple formations converging from different angles. They are precise, Lyra said. They will not make mistakes, but neither will we. Jaren's heart pounded, but his mind was clear. This was no longer just about survival. It was about proving that humans, flawed though they might be, could rise to challenges that seemed impossible. The first shots came without warning. Alien energy beams cut through the nebula, sending clouds of gas into brilliant eruptions of light. Jaren twisted the controls, following Lyra's guidance, weaving through the chaos with a precision that surprised even him. Every maneuver was a dance, every decision a test. Do not react impulsively, Lyra instructed. Anticipate, predict, control. Jaren did. He began thinking not in terms of fleeing but in terms of positioning, using the nebula's gases and gravitational pockets as shields. He felt a deep connection with Lyra, their thoughts moving almost in unison. She suggested angles and he executed them instinctively. Hours of maneuvering passed. Jaren's muscles burned and sweat streaked his face, but he felt alive in a way he hadn't in years. Each successful evasion, each precise countermove, reinforced his confidence. He was no longer just an exiled human pilot. He was a strategist, a partner to a sentient being whose mind was as sharp as his own. But survival was only the first step. Lyra's voice, calm yet commanding, cut through the tension. We must strike. The enemy's formation has a vulnerability. I will guide you, but you must act decisively. Jaren swallowed and nodded. I understand, let's do it. Using Lyra's advanced predictive systems, they identified the central vessel of the enemy fleet. Disabling it would disrupt the entire formation. Jaren adjusted their trajectory, moving through narrow corridors of ionized gas and floating debris. Lasers streaked past, but Lyra's guidance was perfect. They reached the target. Now, Lyra commanded. Jaren focused, channeling every lesson he had learned. He activated the ship's energy pulse, an alien system he had barely understood until now. The pulse shot forward, striking the central vessel. The explosion reverberated through the nebula, sending shockwaves that disoriented the surrounding enemy ships. Excellent, Lyra said. Now use the disruption. Their coordination is faltering. Jaren acted quickly, weaving through the chaos, hitting weak points, and guiding Lyra to capitalize on every mistake the enemy made. The alien fleet, though advanced, could not adapt as quickly to their unpredictable human-alien teamwork. One by one, ships were disabled, forced to retreat, or rendered powerless. Finally, silence returned. The nebula was calm again, broken only by drifting debris. Jaren exhaled deeply, exhaustion washing over him. "We did it, we actually did it," he whispered. "Yes," Lyra replied softly. "You have proven capability, courage, and creativity. But remember, this is only the beginning. The galaxy is vast, and others will come. Your journey is just starting." Jaren looked out at the stars, feeling a mixture of relief, pride, and awe. He thought of the scrapyard, the derision of other humans, and the scandal that had cast him out. And now, here he was, not just surviving, but succeeding against an enemy he could never have faced alone. "Lyra," he said, turning his gaze to the interface, do you think humans can really change, be more than our mistakes?" "I see it in you," Lyra said. "Humans are flawed, but they endure, adapt, and create. You have shown resilience and ingenuity. With guidance and trust, you may rise to challenges others cannot even comprehend." Jaren felt a warmth in his chest. For the first time since his disgrace, he felt truly capable, respected, and valued, not for what he had been, but for what he could become. They drifted together through the nebula, taking a moment to recover. Jaren's hands rested lightly on the controls, no longer tense, no longer uncertain. Lyra hummed softly, almost like a heartbeat, filling the cockpit with quiet reassurance. "We should continue exploring," Lyra said. "There are systems uncharted by humans, civilizations we may encounter, and knowledge waiting to be found. We have proven our ability to survive and adapt. Now we can thrive." Jaren nodded, a smile breaking across his face. "I'm ready. Let's see what's out there." Over the following weeks, they ventured deeper into unknown space. Jaren's skills grew with every challenge, his confidence soaring. He learned to anticipate alien technology, to negotiate tricky situations, and to act decisively under pressure. Lyra taught him about energy flows, gravitational anomalies, and tactical maneuvers that human pilots could not comprehend. Together, they became a seamless team, human intuition merging with alien precision. News of Jaren and Lyra spread quietly. Whispers of the ex-human pilot who had survived patrols, bounty hunters, and alien fleets reached the ears of humans across multiple systems. For the first time, Jaren realized that redemption was possible, not through fame, but through courage, ingenuity, and partnership. One day, while observing a binary star system, Lyra spoke. "You have learned much, Jaren. You have faced danger, uncertainty, and fear, yet you endured. The galaxy will continue to test you. But you have proven that humans, when guided by knowledge and trust, can rise above limitations." Jaren looked out at the twin suns, thinking of the journey that had brought him here, from a despised ex-pilot wandering a scrapyard to a capable explorer navigating the vast unknown. He had learned to trust, to adapt, and to embrace partnership in ways he never thought possible. "I never thought I'd get here," he admitted. "Not alone, and maybe not even with Lyra at first, but we did it, together." Lyra hummed, her interface glowing warmly. "And together we will continue. The galaxy is wide, full of challenges, wonders, and dangers. But you are no longer the pilot who bought a scrapped alien ship. You are a force to be reckoned with, a human capable of extraordinary things." Jaren allowed himself a deep breath, feeling the weight of past failures lift slightly from his shoulders. He was no longer an outcast, no longer a fugitive. He had a purpose, a partner, and the knowledge that humans could indeed rise to meet the universe's greatest challenges. As they set course for a distant, uncharted system, Jaren leaned back in his seat and allowed himself a rare feeling: hope. Not just hope for survival, but hope for a future where humans, flawed though they might be, could achieve greatness. Where courage, ingenuity, and trust could redefine their place in the galaxy. And with Lyra at his side, he knew they could face anything. The stars stretched endlessly ahead, promising adventure, danger, and discovery. Jaren Kor, once hated and broken, now looked toward them with confidence, purpose, and determination. He was no longer alone. He was no longer defeated. He was ready to embrace the unknown. Together, human and alien, pilot and ship, they would shape the galaxy, not through fear or conquest, but through courage, trust, and the unyielding potential of humanity. And somewhere in the vast expanse of space, new adventures awaited, ready to test their resolve and reward their bravery. Jaren smiled. "Let's go, Lyra. Show me the galaxy." Lyra hummed in agreement, a soft, vibrant sound that was almost alive. And together they soared into the unknown, a human and a sentient alien ship, partners in adventure, allies in survival, and a testament to the extraordinary potential of humanity or not. He had to have it. After a tense negotiation with the scrapyard's overseer, Jaren traded every last credit he had. The overseer shook his head, muttering under his breath about foolish humans and their dangerous pride. Jaren didn't care. He had a ship now, his chance to rise again. He climbed aboard, stepping into the vessel's interior. The walls were smooth, almost organic, curving around him. The air smelled faintly of ozone and something else he couldn't name. The ship was quiet, too quiet. Then it spoke. Finally, the voice was soft, calm, and unmistakably intelligent. Jaren froze, his hand hovering over the controls. What was that?" he asked, looking around the empty cockpit. "I am Lyra," the voice said. "I have waited a long time for someone to listen." Jaren's eyes widened. The ship wasn't just a machine, it was alive, thinking, speaking. You can talk," he stammered. "Yes," Lyra replied, "and I will not waste my time with liars or fools. Tell me your intentions, human." Jaren swallowed hard. He had dealt with aliens before, but never one like this. Something about Lyra's voice was different. It wasn't aggressive, but it demanded honesty. I want a second chance," he said finally. "I want to prove I'm still useful. I want to do something that matters." There was a pause, and then the ship responded. "Humans are fragile, reckless, and often destructive. Yet you may have potential. I will decide in time." Jaren felt a mixture of fear and excitement. He had bought a ship that could judge him, guide him, and maybe even challenge him. Most pilots would have run in the opposite direction, but not Jaren. For the next few hours he explored Lyra, running basic diagnostic checks. Nothing worked the way he expected. The controls seemed to anticipate his movements, adjusting without input. Screens lit up with symbols he didn't recognize. Every system seemed alive, responding to him in ways that felt almost human. "Stop poking at that," Lyra said suddenly when he tried to open a maintenance panel. "Your methods are inefficient." Jaren froze. It's how humans do it," he said, frustrated. "I see," the ship replied. "You will need to learn differently." "I will teach you if you are willing to listen." Jaren laughed bitterly. "Teach me from a ship? You're insane." "Perhaps," Lyra said, "but only the insane survive the galaxy." As the hours passed, Jaren realized something. Lyra was not just a tool. She or it, he wasn't sure which, was a partner. And if he could understand her, if he could work with her, he might be able to do what no human had done before: fly with an alien mind as his equal. But first, he had to survive the night. The scrapyard wasn't as empty as it seemed. Rumors of human bounty hunters and scavengers were true. A ship like Lyra would draw attention, and not the kind anyone would welcome. Sure enough, as he began running preliminary power tests, a shadow moved outside the viewport. Jaren's pulse quickened. He slipped into the pilot's seat and activated the ship's minimal engines. Lyra hummed in approval. "They are here," she said quietly. "Human scavengers, they want what you have." Jaren's hands moved instinctively over the controls. "I don't have time for this." "You always have time," Lyra replied. "But you will need skill, not speed, to survive." The next hour was chaos. Jaren and Lyra dodged drifting debris, narrowly avoiding collisions as scavengers fired from nearby platforms. But Lyra anticipated every move, guiding him with precision beyond any human pilot's capability. For the first time in years, Jaren felt alive. He was not just surviving, he was performing. When the scavengers finally retreated, Jaren exhaled deeply. His heart was pounding, his hands sweaty, but a grin spread across his face. That was incredible, he said. You are learning, Lyra said, and you may yet be useful, but understand this. The galaxy is far larger, far stranger, and far more dangerous than you imagine. If you wish to survive, you will need more than skill. You will need courage, intelligence, and trust. Jaren nodded slowly. He had spent years alone, running from a past that haunted him. Trust was not something he gave easily. But if this ship could think, reason, and fight beside him, maybe, just maybe, he could start to rebuild himself. He looked out at the field of broken ships one last time. Most of them would never fly again. Most pilots would have given up, swallowed by despair. But he had Lyra. And together he felt a spark of hope he hadn't felt in years. "Where do we go now?" he asked quietly. Lyra hummed almost contemplatively. "Wherever you choose, but remember, human, choices define destiny." Jaren leaned back in the pilot's seat, staring at the stars beyond the scrapyard. The path ahead was uncertain, dangerous, and full of challenges. But for the first time in a long time, he didn't feel alone. Somewhere out there, the galaxy was waiting. And with Lyra by his side, Jaren Core was ready to face it.